Imagine a place so remote, so frozen, that it's been regulated to the fringes of maps for centuries. A place so isolated that only the bravest dare to venture. But now, suddenly, the Arctic is hot, and not in the way you think. So why is the US, along with other countries, so keen to control the Arctic? What's at stake? Why does it matter? The truth is, it's about way more than just polar bears and icebergs. Today we're diving into why the US, and pretty much every other country with an interest in global power, is scrambling to get a piece of the Arctic. Now you might think of the Arctic as just a bunch of snow and ice, but it's actually positioned in some of the world's most important geopolitical action. Russia, Canada, and Norway. All of these countries are using the Arctic to flex military muscle, build bases, and basically say, this region is ours. And here's the kicker. The US knows that if it doesn't get involved, it risks falling behind in a major game of global chess. The Arctic is home to air and sea routes that connect Europe to North America, and those routes, they're critical for military strategy. So if the US doesn't have a stake in the region, it loses its leverage. With global tensions rising, nations are looking for ways to secure their position. Think of it like an international land grab, but it's happening on frozen terrain. The Arctic is becoming more than just a place to explore. It's an asset. The Arctic isn't just important for military strategy. It's also a giant pile of money hidden under a thick layer of ice. Imagine the Arctic as the world's largest treasure chest. Oil, natural gas, minerals, you name it. Experts estimate that 13% of the world's undiscovered oil and 30% of its natural gas might be locked away up there. That's billions, maybe trillions of dollars just waiting to be tapped. And for the US, that means less reliance on foreign oil and more control over global energy markets. But it's not just oil and gas. As the ice melts, the Arctic is opening up to all kinds of new opportunities. There are fisheries that we've never been able to reach before. And the real game changer, new shipping routes. Once frozen waters are now navigable, and a route called the Northwest Passage could shorten shipping times dramatically between Asia and North America. This isn't just about global resources, it's about securing the US's position as a leader in global trade. And you might be thinking, wait, isn't this all bad for the planet? And yeah, that's part of all of this. The Arctic is melting. Fast. The region is warming twice as fast as the rest of the planet, and the ice that once blocked these routes is now disappearing. This doesn't just affect the Arctic, it's a global issue. Melting ice contributes to rising sea levels, threatening coastal communities around the world. Plus, as the ice vanishes, it exposes darker ocean water, which absorbs more heat and accelerates global warming. We can't ignore the environmental toll this is taking. The question becomes, can the US, can anyone really, balance their ambition in the Arctic while still taking the responsibility to protect it? That's going to be the tricky part. It's not just about oil and gas, it's about preserving this delicate ecosystem too. The polar bears, the seals, the entire food chain that's rapidly having to adjust to an already changing planet. When we disrupt the Arctic, we risk unraveling an intricate web of life that impacts ecosystems around the globe. So these global powers have to think about how to claim the Arctic without completely ruining it for future generations. And I'm not sure about you, but I'm not completely positive that the US or whoever is capable of doing this. And here's where things really get interesting. This isn't something abstract anymore. Countries are literally racing with legislation to control the Arctic. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea says countries can lay claim to the Arctic if they can prove their right to the resources beneath it. But it's not just a free-for-all. There are rules, and there's a lot of competition. Russia, for example, has been making bold moves to assert their control, while Canada and Norway are also staking their claims. The US, well, it hasn't signed the treaty that governs these claims, but it's still heavily involved in negotiations and bilateral agreements. In short, if the US doesn't get involved, it risks being locked out. The US knows it's not going to win this alone, so it's leaning on its NATO allies, especially Canada, which shares the Arctic. But with Trump's claims of purchasing or taking over Greenland, a lot is up in the air over what could happen. The US is ramping up its military presence in the Arctic. More patrols, more exercises, and more investment in technology to navigate these frozen waters. Of course, this isn't all smooth sailing. The more countries that want a piece of the Arctic, the more tensions are bound to rise. The Arctic is no longer just a remote, uninhabited icebox. It's become a place of immense strategic, economic, and environmental importance. For the US, it's a race to secure its interests in this rapidly changing, rapidly melting landscape. But here's the thing, as much as the US wants to control the Arctic, we can't ignore the bigger question. What happens to this region as it continues to melt? And will the world balance its ambitions with the health of the planet?